Hello everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video talking about my progress for my second week of the league. The reason I'm calling this my week 2 video is because I had to leave town for the holidays for a couple weeks, so this is only the second week I've actually been able to play. Before I left, I was considering making another video about how easy it is to make currency without juicing or relying on lucky drops. I've made one of those videos before. But the game had other plans for me, as right before I left, I had the luckiest drop I've ever had in this game. And if you saw the thumbnail, if you're watching the footage, you probably already figured out it's a Headhunter. This dropped from a tier 16 Carcass map boss. It dropped, it was a unique leather belt. I moused over it real quick. I was about to leave. I just thought, leather belt, it's a worm's molt or whatever. And then I thought, wait a second. I saw a whole bunch of skulls, and I moused back over it. And sure enough, that was a Headhunter. And it was just an awesome drop, unforgettable moment. I've never had anything like this drop in the game, not even close. My best drop before this was a House of Mirrors card, and that was in a Void League. That was in Delirium Everywhere last year. And my best drop that I've ever had in an actual league, I guess, is an Apothecary card, which I've had twice from stacked decks. I had one in Sentinel League and one in Lake of Calandra League. Anyway, I was actually a little bit sad when this dropped because I had to leave the next day for holidays, and I wasn't really sure if I should just sell it before I left, especially considering that I was playing a totem character who couldn't really use it anyway. But I decided the game dropped me a Headhunter, I might as well have some fun with it. So I spent the one day that I had left before leaving rolling up a new character to use it. I wanted to use one of the new or buffed skills, and after watching some videos, I decided to copy Mathil's Vaal Smite build and give it a few of my own changes. So this is the character. I went Champion instead of Inquisitor. Mathil's version is Inquisitor. I went Crystallized Omniscience because this is a pretty standard combo. You go Headhunter, which gives a lot of attributes. Crystallized Omniscience wants you to have a lot of attributes and then converts them all to Omniscience. And Headhunter just tends to work best on builds that are physical converted to Elemental or converted to Chaos, especially builds that attack or self-cast, because you get a lot of attack speed or cast speed. You get a lot of action speed from Headhunter buffs, especially Soul Eater. And there are also a bunch of buffs that add damage as Elemental. So if you're a physical build and you're not building to be immune to Elemental Reflect, and then you pick up one of those Elemental buffs, suddenly you're susceptible to Elemental Reflect, it's better to just already be an Elemental build and already have accounted for Elemental Reflect, which I've done with Awakened Elemental damage with attacks. I'm using Thunderfist, just like Mathil's version of the build. His version uses Hypothermia. I am using increased crit damage. The reason for that is that he's using maces in his build, and he's using the Mace Mastery, which gives all damage with maces and scepters inflicts chill. So then you can always get the bonus from Hypothermia. And I was doing that for a bit. I was actually running Frost Breath with Hypothermia for a while, and then I decided, I could probably get more damage if I switched to Paradoxica and just skip the Hypothermia, because the reason Hypothermia Frost Breath is good is because Frost Breath deals double damage to chilled targets. Paradoxica just always deals double damage, and then you can also get good mods on it. This is one that I unveiled myself. I bought about 8 of them, and this is the best one I unveiled. I was hoping to get one with attacks penetrate elemental resistances, attack speed, and dexterity and intelligence. Instead of the dexterity and intelligence, I got the trigger blood rage when you kill an enemy. That's still a good mod. I actually have blood rage in the build anyway, because I'd rather have a level 20 blood rage. So this blood rage I use for bosses, and the triggered blood rage just happens while I'm mapping automatically. So while I was using the mace version, I was using a shield, and I picked up this really good Peripateia for, I think this was like 40C. Like, it was really cheap, and this had +2 minimum power charges. This was just, and it has attack speed. This was just a crazy buff to my damage. This was, even without the synthesized implicits, I checked POB, and this was the best DPS boost I could get from a unique item in my offhand slot when I was using Frost Breath. And then I've just found this one that had awesome synthesized implicits, so I bought it. And it worked well for a while, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to switch to Paradoxica. And one of my friends mentioned, are you going to go Paradoxica Savior? And I hadn't even thought about that. I was just going to keep the Peripateia. But then when they brought up Savior, I decided to plug that into POB, and it was so much more damage. And I think POB is underrepresenting my damage by quite a bit. I'll link the POB in the description below after. But I'm not too familiar with exactly how to set all of the settings in PoE for this particular build to get the accurate DPS, so I'm pretty sure I've missed something, because this build does way more damage than my Incinerate build did, and PoE is saying that it does less. So something is missing there. It's whatever. It feels awesome. I'm having a ton of fun. Headhunter's awesome. Paradoxica Savior is awesome. And Vaal Smite is awesome. You probably saw in the intro clip that, you press Vaal Smite and the whole screen explodes. So for other things I did with this character, my boots are just these. They have a lot of attributes on them. One of my friends found these, and they didn't have the prefixes. They just had the attributes and some garbage prefixes. And I told him, if you can't sell those, I'll buy them off of you for, I think I said like a divine. And he just gave them to me instead. He didn't want to bother with it. So I got these with the suffixes. I crafted suffixes cannot be changed, and then I veiled Chaos Orbed it, and I got the life and regenerate mana. I figured that's good enough. I'll craft the movement speed and avoid chill. Actually, I don't need that avoid chill anymore. I didn't even think about that because I'm using purity of elements now. So I can change that. So I'll do that. And then I Eldritch crafted, got brittle ground, and avoid poison. Avoid poison isn't really a huge stat there, but it is just the best option I have for that implicit. Another good option instead of the brittle ground would have been chaos resist. I actually was running chaos resist for a while. I was running movement speed for a while, and then I decided, you know what, I'll just go brittle ground. It's a really strong modifier anyway. And I was running a bunch of lab one day when there was a really good layout. I forget which day, but there was a really good layout. It only had like 8 rooms, no golden doors. I ran a whole bunch of lab. So I got this enchant while I was doing that, and I also got the exact helmet enchant I was looking for. So this was awesome. I bought this Black Sun Crest for, I think this was a divine, about that, somewhere in that range, maybe like 100C, I don't really remember. Really well rolled on the attributes, and there's a lot of attribute stackers this league, so any attribute stacking items are quite expensive. But I bought this before the attribute stacking really took off. This was, I bought this like while I was leveling the character, so before I left for holidays. But then I got the enchant myself, and that was just awesome. Like that was just like a fantastic little Christmas present for me. So I already mentioned I'm using Thunderfist, just like Mathel's version of the build. I bought this +2 to level of socketed aura gems because Smite is an aura gem. And speaking of aura gems, the reason I went champion was actually to stack aura effect. Well, it was also because champion is a pretty good melee ascendancy, and I figured I wanted to be a little bit tankier than Mathel's like full DPS Inquisitor version. So I went with the fortification, the cannot be stunned while fortified, the permanent intimidating, the recover life when you gain adrenaline, and you gain adrenaline when you are on low life. And then you get this 30% increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills. Smite, when you hit something with it, gives you an aura that adds flat lightning damage. And that aura gets buffed by this, by anything that you have with aura effect. So all this stuff down here that gives aura effect, that also buffs Smite. If I wanted to go full DPS on this character, I could probably, instead of going this way to Fortitude, I could just go up this way to Conquer and Worthy Foe. This would be more DPS, but less tanky, I think. I would lose 20% attack speed here, but I think yeah, this is definitely more damage, Worthy Foe. Anyway, so the tree is just getting a lot of attributes where I can, getting the dex stacking and the strength stacking node, getting life where I can. I grab the max resistances here. Grabbing some melee damage and sword stuff around the tree where I can. This sword mastery gives a chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit a unique enemy, so you don't have to rely on blood rage for frenzy charges all the time, especially when you're just fighting a boss and there's no mobs to kill. You can still get your frenzy charges. I have an intuitive leap here to get some of these high value nodes pretty cheap. I still path to this life node anyway because I want the life mastery. Anyway, I grabbed this Mark the Prey because this is a really high value wheel. Pretty much on any build that uses a mark, this wheel is incredible. I have this jewel here that's just a pretty good all-around jewel. I actually have a better jewel in my inventory, this one right here. I was collecting a whole bunch of jewels to just spam Vaal Orbs on them and see if I hit any big unique jewels, and I did hit a few, but this was a really cool jewel that I hit during that, and I would use this if not for the fact that Assassin's Mark costs 73 mana. I can use this right now, I think. Let's see. If I take this out, I have 74 mana, so I can use this. However, when I do Sanctums, I switch my auras a bit. I put Skitterbots in, I put Unbound Ailments in here, then I turn on Skitterbots, and now I only have 49 mana. So, and that's not enough to cast the Assassin's Mark, which costs 73. But if I put this jewel in, then I have... Oh, right. I also take out my Empower Gem when I do this. And now my Assassin's Mark costs 51 mana. This is just for Sanctum. Skitterbot's Unbound Ailments is so good in Sanctum, it makes the run 1,000 times easier. So I do that, and I figure it's just easier to not bother switching the jewel, just in case I forget. Because if I forget to switch the jewel when I do this, then my Assassin's Mark is just going to be a dead gem. For the rest of the gear, there's not too much to talk about. I'm using a Brass Dome. I originally was using this Perfect Form, which I crafted up to 4 white sockets, which is pretty cool. So this was when I was using Frost Breath and Peripateia. I used Perfect Form, which gave me Arctic Armor for free, and I was using Tempest Shield to get my shock immunity. So I got freeze immunity from Arctic Armor, I got shock immunity from Tempest Shield. And I was also using Grace when I was using this setup. I was using the standard Determination, Grace, Defiance banner. However, as with almost every time I've ever tried Evasion, I decided Evasion just kind of sucks. So I switched to Brass Dome. I dropped Grace. Instead of Grace, I'm using Purity of Elements now, so now I don't need the Tempest Shield or the Arctic Armor, so I'm immune to all ailments. I have crazy high resists. They're 158 uncapped. I actually tried to use Wise Oak with this because they're all the same, because I have no flat resist on any of my gear. I'm only getting resistances from Omniscience. I tried to use the Wise Oak, however, Headhunter gives so many buffs that change your resistances that it just made it impossible to stay consistent. But if I were to boss on this character, I would probably use a Wise Oak. Anyway, so I switched to Brass Dome, switched to Purity of Elements, dropped Grace, and I felt 20 times tankier. It's just so much better. I don't like relying on evasion in this game. I still have a bit of evasion, but I just don't like relying on evasion as a primary defense. It's fine as a supplementary defense, but I don't like it at all as a primary defense. You need you need really effective damage reduction, and if you're going to use damage avoidance like evasion, I find that block is just straight up better. It's just the better version of evasion. Because block is a reliable number. If you have 70% block, you have 70% block. It's not dependent on blind or the enemy's accuracy or anything. Block is always reliable. And there's all sorts of like recovery on block mechanics. So I just don't like evasion. Yeah, and you can see my max resistances with the Brass Dome are really high. This was actually... I kind of profit crafted on this Brass Dome quite a bit. I bought this with the Corrupted Implicit. It only had 1 socket on it. And then I used Tainted Jewelers and Tainted Fusings to get it up to a 6-link. And I bought this for, I think, 1 Divine. I think I bought this Brass Dome for 1 Divine, which is just crazy. It only had 1 socket. It was a red socket. So what I did was you go here, you put your armor that you want to craft in, and you go 4. And you craft it to 4 sockets. I'm not going to do this right now, obviously, because it's 6-linked already. But... it's not even going to show... Okay, it should cost Vaal Orbs. If the sockets were empty, you would see that because it's corrupted, it costs 10 Jewelers and 10 Vaal Orbs. So you go to... And that's pretty reasonable. Like, that's easy. It's just once you go up to, like, 5, now it costs 70 Vaal Orbs. That's too much. So you force craft it to 4 with 10 Vaal Orbs, and then you Tainted Jewelers it. And Tainted Jewelers will either add or remove a socket. If it goes up to 5 sockets, great. Do another one. See if it goes up to 6. Keep doing that until it goes down to 3 or up to 6. If it goes up to 6, you're done. If it goes down to 3, go back to the crafting bench and force it back to 4 sockets. And then, same thing for linking it. You go to the crafting bench, you force 4 links, which costs 4, which costs 5 fusings and 5 Vaal Orbs. And then you go back here. I don't have any Tainted Fusings right now, but Tainted Fusings work kind of the same as Tainted Jewelers. They will either add a link or remove a link. So your 4-link will either become a 3-link or a 5-link. If it becomes a 3-link, then you go back to the crafting bench and you force it to a 4-link again. If it becomes a 5-link, then you do another Tainted Fusing, and hopefully it becomes a 6-link. And if it becomes a 4-link, you just do it again. You keep doing it until it either becomes 6 or 3. If it goes to 3, you force it back to 4 on the crafting bench. If it goes to 6, you're done. Kind of the last thing I want to talk about on this character, and this was on both of my characters actually, is you see my chaos resistance is minus 30. There is so much chaos damage in the game now that on both of my characters, I found that the #1 survivability upgrade for both of them, actually #2 after Aegis Aurora on my other character, but other than that, the best survivability upgrade for both of the characters was running an Amethyst Flask. There is so much chaos damage in the game now, you have to have at least positive chaos resist. You can't run around with negative chaos resist in the game anymore. Especially one of the new monster modifiers is just adds chaos damage. Like they gain some of their physical damage as chaos damage, which I think already existed. In fact, I'm sure it already existed, but it's really common now. It was not nearly as common as it is now. So you will run into it all the time. And gems real quick, the 6 link is just all of my auras. We are stacking a lot of aura effects, so we might as well have as many auras as we can. Purity of Elements, Defiance Banner, Herald of Thunder, Determination, Precision, Enlighten. We need a lot of accuracy, and the crit helps anyway, so Precision is really good. It's really hard to get accuracy when you're on Crystallized Omniscience because you don't get any accuracy from Dexterity. And our one weapon, we have Empower, Assassin's Mark, Mark on Hit, just easy mark. This is our main damage, Smite, Awaken Elemental Damage with attacks, Increase crits, and Awaken Ancestral Call. If I were bossing on this character, I would probably change the Awakened Ancestral Call to Ruthless. And then we have our totem set up here. This is just the standard multiple totems, Ancestral War Chief, Culling Strike, and Ancestral Protector. Really standard melee character totem setup. This is our movement skill over here, Leap Slam, faster attacks, Blood Rage right here. And this is cast when damage taken, Molten Shell. I forgot I have Vaal Molten Shell, but this character's bar is so cluttered, I kind of almost might as well put Molten Shell on. Actually, I could put it here. Yeah, this character had really cluttered bars, especially before, but not so bad now, so I can actually fit the Molten Shell onto the bar now. Life Tap and Summon Ice Golem. I like having my Golem on cast when damage taken, because I just hate resummoning Golems, and it stays up most of the time, so this is actually pretty useful Golem to have here, especially its crit chance and accuracy. It's the best Golem for this build. It's not even close. And then my rings just have a bunch of attributes, life, and minus the cost of non-channeling skills so that my smite is free. Oh, that reminds me. One of the other things Mathil was running here was Inspiration. I think instead of elemental damage with attacks. I was running Inspiration for a while, and then after a bit I was like, wait, something's not right. And then I realized Inspiration only gives you inspiration charges if you spend mana on a skill. And my smite costs 0 mana, so I wasn't gaining any inspiration charges. For a while I was, because I didn't have these modifiers, but as soon as I got this, I was like, oh, well, there's no reason to run inspiration anymore, so I'll run Awakened Elemental Damage with attacks. It's more damage anyway, and it gives me immunity to Reflect, so it's awesome. And then I also picked up this Sanctified Relic. This was before I rolled the character. Crit chance for attacks, lightning damage, perfect. That's all I could want, right? That is already perfect for this character. Anyway, for the rest of the video, I'm just going to show some footage of me mapping while I talk about some other things because I don't want the video to just be me sitting in the hideout for the whole time while I talk. The Incinerate Totems character that I decided to play on League Start actually turned out to be a big success. It was actually my easiest Voidstones that I've had ever. Getting all 4 of them was really easy. The bosses were kind of a joke. I was kind of worried that I wasn't going to have enough DPS to make those fights easy, but it was actually pretty smooth. So I do plan on making a proper build guide to the Incinerate Totems character, but that's for another time. As I mentioned, I'm kind of just done with the Totem character. I don't really like playing Totems that much, but I figured it would be a good league starter for this league, especially with the Sanctum mechanic. And I was right, Totems are kind of king in there, but I still don't really like playing it, and my Smite character gets through Sanctum fine, so I'm kind of done with the Totem character. So my opinion of the actual Forbidden Sanctum mechanic so far is that it still kind of just sucks for profit. It's actually still probably the worst league mechanic I've ever had for profit. I found a few Divine Orbs in it, but it's just not worth it. It takes so long to run, but it's really fun. It's fun enough that I will run it anyway, even though the profit kind of sucks in it. I enjoy the roguelike mechanic. I enjoy the game. Once I learned more about it, it's not so hard to clear anymore, but it takes so long to clear. I think I've had a total of 4 Divine Orbs from it, and I've completed about 6 or 7 Tier 16 Sanctums, and I'll post the screenshots up in a second here. But yeah, let's say it's 6 Sanctums, that's 180 maps. Getting like 4 Divines out of 180 maps is nothing special. It's not even good. But the mechanic is really fun, so I can't really complain, and it gives rewards that you can't get anywhere else, so it's still not bad. I enjoy doing it, even though from a strictly profit perspective, it's not worth doing. But from a keeping the game fresh and fun, it's a good mechanic. So real quick, I just wanted to show those Sanctums and the results from them. This is the first Tier 14 Sanctum that I completed. Not a whole lot here. And then this is the first Tier 16 Sanctum that I completed. Some more stuff here, but still not really that much, considering that it takes 32 maps to run a single Sanctum. And these are all with picking the rewards at the end of the Sanctum as much as possible. This is the 3rd Sanctum here, even less stuff than the 2nd one here. This is another tier 16. All the rest from here on are tier 16. And I always picked the rewards that come at the end of the Sanctum, unless it's just garbage, like a bunch of chromatics. And then here's the third tier 16 I completed. Still, there's more stuff here, but still not really that much. And then the fourth tier 16 I completed, or the fifth high tier Sanctum that I completed. A couple Divines here finally. So this is 5 Sanctums, it's 150 maps. It's 160 maps actually. That's a lot just for 2 Divine Orbs. And then here's the last one that I took a screenshot of. I did do another one after this, which I did get 2 Divine Orbs from. So 2 more Sanctums, add another 60 maps. You're up to 220 maps for 4 Divine Orbs. It's just way too much. The one Divine Altar that I mentioned, that I got 12 Divine Orbs from, that was more Divine Orbs, more profit than all of my Sanctums for the entire league combined. So like I said in my last video, this still holds true. Lake of Kalandra, the league mechanic Lake of Kalandra, was more profitable than Forbidden Sanctum, and it's not even close. I'm not really sure what I plan on doing for the rest of the league. Originally, I wasn't even sure if I was going to play this league at all, but then I had a Headhunter drop, and I've been having a ton of fun with it. But I don't really know if I plan on really pushing this league. I'll probably just do some challenges. I might push 40 out of 40, but I don't know. I did that last league, and it was really time-consuming. I don't know. I'm enjoying the league, but I don't know how much further I'll go into it. I do want to focus on real life and maybe some other games for a little bit. We'll see. I do have a few more videos planned. There's the build guide for the Incinerate Totems, although I might wait for next league start for that because build guides tend to do better when posted right around league start. There's one last video I plan on doing on Ilfabin's Trickery, which is an item I posted about recently, and I got a ton of attention on that. Just kind of want to answer some of the questions and comments on that video, and also that combo has been expanded to be even sillier now. Yeah, so I have a few ideas on other characters that I want to try, but I don't know if I'm going to do them this league. I might just hold them off for another league and then come back with new character ideas later for next league. Next league will be the big expansion, most likely. So it'll change the game up quite a bit, and it might give me some new ideas and renew my interest in the game. But I do have a few more videos planned. But after those few videos, content will probably slow down for a little bit, at least revolving around this game. I do want to make some content for some other games, but you know, I've got a couple more videos planned, and then there will probably be a slowdown of content for a little while. Anyway, that's all for the video today. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.